The goal of this section is to be able to evaluate the following sentence for all of the inflections on the word, tense, as well as the mood. And we're going to learn about those as we go throughout the section. So the sentence is, has the one friend that I had promised, sorry, has the one friend that I had in the world promised me something? So let's take a look at tense first. Now this may surprise you because grammar books have this wrong generally, but verbs in English only have two tenses. There's either present or past. Tense is a grammatical form. So it's not about time. Tense correlates to time, but not always. So if you think about the form of a verb like jump, there is jump and there's the past tense jumped. If you want to say jumping in the future, you need to add a modal afterwards. But this modal itself doesn't have any tense on it. So it doesn't have a separate tense form. So we don't actually have future tense in English, but we can use the present tense to talk about future time. So for example, I hope that we bake cheesecakes tomorrow. Bake here is in present tense, but the time that it's talking about is the future. If you think about this one, if I had some money, I could bribe him to get out of here. Now this is past tense, if I had, but the time that we're talking about is the present or potentially the future. So tense corresponds to time, but it's not always, does not always correspond to time. So we need to be careful about that. So how do you find tense? Well, tense can occur in a clause, and if it does occur, it has to occur on the first element of the main verb. So this is all of the auxiliaries plus the verb. So this is the chain of the modal, the perfect, the progressive, and then the verb itself. So somewhere in here, it's going to be the highest element that has it. So in Benjamin was pillaging the village yesterday, was is the first thing in our main verb. So we take a look at this form to see what the tense is. So the tense of this sentence is past. Benjamin may have pillaged the ship already. This one's interesting because this is a modal. And modals, just like will, don't have any tense. So this sentence doesn't actually have tense on it. What you're seeing on have is the bare form, or the infinitive on the bare, or in the infinitive form, you can call it. And pillaged has this past participle on it. So this would be our main verb, but this is really a past participle verb in this case, as we can see with this. So Benjamin had actually been dreaming. In this sentence, we take a look at our first verb. Here we have an intervening adverb, but that doesn't matter because we're just looking at the chain of modal, perfect, progressive, and verb. So this is had, this is past tense, had versus have. And finally, with could Benjamin have been a pirate? This is a question, but we see the modal out front, then the perfect, then the verb. So do modals have tense? The answer is no, so there is no tense in this clause, in this sentence. So that's tense. We'll talk about mood next, but this tends to be something that a lot of books and grammar get confused. Tense is a grammatical form. It is the form of the verb. So when we add a new word like will, that is not future tense. That's just another word that corresponds to future time. Mood is something that isn't applied to an entire sentence, and it expresses a lot of different things depending on the language. So likelihood, necessity, degree. You might even think of it as like hearsay. Is it a fact? Is it evidential? In English, we have four different types of moods. We have indicative, interrogative, imperative, and conditional. So let's take a look at these. The first one, indicative, is what you're used to. These are basic declarative sentences. They state facts or opinions. It's not about whether the fact or opinion is true. It's just that it states something that can be true or false. So I think that pineapple is not a valid pizza topping. Just regular sentence. No, he really does dance like a centipede on ice. Regular sentence. Statement. Princess Peach was always referred to as Princess Toadstool in North America until Super Mario 64 was released in 1996. So that's indicative. It is giving information. It's just factual. Now you'll see a different type of mood, and it's going to make it quite obvious what we mean by the differences between the moods. So one is conditional. And this is when you have something about possibility, necessity, or probability. So usually modals have this. So it might happen. There's a condition on this happening. You should be careful at night. So here we have some conditions. If you keep throwing brick the reindeer, Santa, his ability to deliver presents. These are all conditional moods. Interrogative are questions. So when we want to seek more truth or more information, we ask a question. And these questions can be answered with yes, no's, or they can be like WH questions like who, what, when, where, why, or how. So did the world record hot dog eating champion really eat 110 hot dogs in 10 minutes? Which parts of the course are important to study? So we see the question marks at the end too. Should I honestly see a therapist, Mickey Mouse? He says as he talks to himself. So these are question marks. These are interrogatives. An interrogative is a question. And finally, imperatives, these are commands. And in imperatives, you will not see subjects. You'll just see a verb in its bare form. You can think of it like there's a hidden subject you out front, but it's just a verb that starts the sentence or clause with a bare form. So hit the ball harder, or dog commands, come, sit, down, shake a paw, or be prepared for incoming attacks. Basically, any sort of command, we usually have exclamation marks at the ends of these. So it's imperative you do this. So let's determine the mood of each of these sentences. You can pause and try yourself first, but let's go ahead with the answers here. So I'm certain that these gnomes have actually been stealing my underwear at night. This is just a regular indicative sentence. It's just a fact. Have you considered learning how to play the cello? This right here is an interrogative mood. It's a question. Jeff could be getting in danger if he doesn't fly home soon. So we have these conditions here. If he doesn't fly home soon, Jeff could be getting into danger. So this is our conditional mood. And finally, don't you point that thing at me, mister. This is a command. So this is imperative mood. Even though we see a negative out front, that doesn't really matter. It's the fact that we're giving a command.